You brushed last night, you brushed this morning, yet the dentist still found another cavity. The simple explanation might be that you missed a spot or your teeth are weak, but dental caries is a process, not a single stain. Brushing clears the battlefield after a fight, while the next acid attack is already scheduled, from breakfast coffee or a mid-morning snack. Hold that thought, because the toothbrush isn't the whole story. Your enamel is a white mineral wall, polished from a distance, but invisible acids keep opening microscopic exits for calcium and phosphate. So the first takeaway is clear. The mouth can be cleaned twice a day and still be acidic many times a day. The obvious suspect is dirt. That's what most people think. Brushing should mean protection, right? But brushing only disrupts plaque, and fluoride only supports remineralization. Neither one cancels repeated acid exposure. Think of a security guard who checks the door at sunrise and sunset, while the invasion happens through small entries all afternoon. A sink can be scrubbed clean twice a day, yet the faucet keeps dripping acid every hour. So yes, the teeth may be clean. Does this explain everything? Not quite. The first relief is knowing it's not just lack of effort. The harder question is, what keeps running the damage? Hold that thought. Plaque isn't just leftover debris waiting to be brushed away. It's a biofilm, a living layer where bacteria process fermentable carbohydrates and release acid against enamel. In other words, that sip of sweet coffee, a cracker, a mint, or a sports drink isn't just a snack. It's a chemical start signal. Back in 1940, at the University of Zurich, Robert Steffen measured plaque pH after sugar exposure. He found a rapid drop into acidity, followed by a gradual recovery. Plainly said, one sip starts the clock. Saliva tries to bring pH back up, then another sip knocks it down again. Here's where the enamel system gets tricky. Demineralization is mineral leaving enamel during acid exposure. Remineralization is mineral returning when conditions improve. Around the critical pH of 5.5, that balance tips toward mineral loss. And none of this needs to hurt or look damaged. The surface can be quietly shifting in the wrong direction. Now, pause here. The key point isn't that acid exists, it's how often that clock restarts. The mouth is like an hourglass flipped repeatedly before the sand settles, except the sand is mineral leaving and returning enamel. Brushing still matters, fluoride still matters, but the frequency of acid attacks keeps flipping the hourglass over. That's why the mouth can feel clean, while the real event remains invisible. A chemical curve too subtle to sense, repeating beneath the surface. The next piece of evidence is far from clean. It comes from Vipo Hospital in Lund, Sweden, during the years 1945 to 1953. The study is ethically notorious and deserves that label without any softening. Well, yet, the chemical insight it provided remains hard to ignore. Sticky sugar eaten between meals caused far more cavities than the same sugar consumed with meals. To understand this, the timing made all the difference. The same sugar behaved differently just because of when it was eaten. Sugar stopped being just a substance. It became a matter of schedule. Putting morality aside for a moment, consider only the timing. Modern pH telemetry follows this logic. Plaque can turn acidic within minutes after eating sugar or any fermentable carbohydrates. In lay terms, the mouth doesn't wait for a formal dessert. A slow, sweet coffee can trigger it. Crackers can keep it going. Dried fruit can prolong it. Then, protein bars, a sports drink, juice, and mints may repeatedly restart this ongoing chemical attack throughout the day. This isn't a single flub. It's a tidal pattern, returning before the shore has time to dry. Enamel may start to recover after one acid attack, but before it finishes, another exposure arrives and the tide rises again. What matters isn't just how much sugar you consume, but how often your tooth surface is forced back under acid. Here lies the main reversal. The obvious dessert looks guilty because it's visible. But the seemingly harmless daily snacks are quieter and more troubling because they never give enamel a moment to rest. Saliva is not just background moisture, it is the body's recovery system. After an acid episode, saliva buffers the acids, clears sugars, supplies calcium and phosphate, and helps plaque pH return to normal over roughly 20 to 60 minutes, depending on the situation. This isn't some magical healing window. It's the quiet period after eating, when the mouth can stop being a chemical battleground. Keep that in mind. Enamel acts less like an unchanging ceramic tile and more like a shoreline that can rebuild between storms. Minerals wash away during acid attacks, but can return as the acid subsides. Fluoride strengthens this rebound, making the mineral defense harder to dissolve. But it doesn't make the tooth invincible. Even a fortified shoreline can be damaged if the storms come without enough time between them. And this is where the story becomes quieter and worse. The recovery system is very real, but it operates on a schedule. Modern grazing, those constant sips, small snacks, or a sweet drink slowly consumed over an hour, directly interrupts that schedule. One exposure follows another before the previous one has even settled. The issue isn't that saliva isn't there, it's that it's constantly being interrupted. It's like sending a repair crew onto a bridge after each blast, then pulling them away before the first beam is replaced. The WHO sugar guidance and the 500 prevention framework both point to the same essential idea. Preventing cavities is more than just a brushing routine. It's about reducing the repeated exposure to sugar that puts enamel under constant chemical stress. Simply put, a toothbrush may clean the surface, and fluoride may help repair damage, but neither can create the recovery time if daily habits keep erasing it. So, the issue isn't primitive teeth versus modern vulnerability. It's an ancient mineral surface facing a new pattern. What was once occasional exposure becomes a constant climate. What used to be recovery becomes ongoing disruption. Once this is clear, the everyday convenience no longer seems harmless. It starts to feel deliberate. By the time a cavity is visible, the initial damage is already old. Early enamel caries often begin beneath the surface, with mineral loss hidden under an intact layer. In other words, the wall hollows out inside before the outer brick falls away. If the chemical balance shifts soon enough, this early loss can still be reversed. Saliva, fluoride, minerals, and crucially time can tip the scales back toward repair. Keep that in mind. Cavitation is the breaking point. It's not where decay starts, but where the surface finally collapses. After that, enamel cannot biologically rebuild itself to its original form. And that's the harsh truth. The ecological plaque hypothesis offers a broader view. It's not about one dirty tooth or a single bad snack. It's an environment shaped by repeated conditions. In everyday life, slow sipping coffee, crackers, mints, sports drinks, and snacks create a schedule of acid attacks. So brushing is necessary, but it was never the whole solution. What was missing was recovery time. The cavity is the invisible damage ledger made visible. Teeth don't remember effort. They record chemistry, time, and moments when recovery was denied.